Alright, so what we did up till now is made a child to parent communication by clicking add to do. It adds to do list in React, Angular and Vue, of course. And now what we want to do is making the to-do list. So what happens is we already have a list that is coming from a to-do input, and what we want to do is pass this list and make that components, right? So what should be done? Let's first look into the view file and how the view in app.view it's done, right? So we already uh, have view, and what we are going to do is basically start writing the to-do list. Okay, so over here we can write to-do list by writing to-do list, and the to-do list will have an event binding. For example, in the to-do list, what if let's see this first. For example, we have, right, we have this. First of all, we need to pass the items, for example this item, and a key as well with it. So if we delete, we can splice it through the list. What we need, and then what if the user clicks this delete to do button? Yeah, right, we need to build this. So an event should be emitted just like we did above. For example, we did it on add to do. We need the same thing on delete to do as well. When the delete to do button is clicked, we need to splice or remove that item from our to-do list, right? We need to do these things. So we can do this by passing through the to-do list, and to do that we can use the directive v4 for it. What v4 does is basically it passes through our our list, and uh, we can send it to our child component. And here we can write, let's see, it needs a key, and key is equal to index. Right, I think it should work now, right? And key, and I need to add a class of margin top 50 so that it may have some spaces in it. And another thing that I wanted to do is add on, so this will be the event which should be emitting, and it should give me the index of that item, right? So that I can remove it from the list. Handle delete to do. And what's this? Okay, so the this is passed through the to the child element, right, to the child component. And what this is basically is the to do item, individual item, and we are passing the index as well to the to this item. So yeah, so basically this is called, parent child communication, and different frameworks we are doing communication in different frameworks. So I think this should be it, and now let's see how we might be building the to-do list and other stuff as well. I should probably or I think we need text, we need a placeholder, we need a class to do input. The v model should be to do element. If you remember, we added these things instead of adding it to do input, but it's still good because we can change this stuff. And type button should be button and button delete, and it shouldn't be on save to do, it should be on delete to do, and I don't think we don't need a disabled right now, and instead of save to do we can do delete. Just delete is fine. Yeah, just delete would be fine. And now we need to write on delete to do method, right? So we need to do the same procedure as before, is same on save to do. Just write on delete to do, right? On delete to do, and over here you need to emit that event which should be listened in the parent on delete to do, and is this to do. And one thing more is the elements are passed from the parent, right? To do element and that thing, you need to add those over here as well to make it work properly. So what I need to do is props and add those names. Which names I'm talking about? I'm talking about these names, right? To do element, to do index, these are passed to do list, so you need to add those in for it to work properly. To do element and to do index, and after that I think sorry, you should be passing it to do index instead. To do index, right? Should work. This should work. And other than that other than that everything's here looks fine to me. Let's check if it's working. Yeah, let's check it. I think it should work. So right, let's write something like to do one, so that we may know that. All right, it didn't work. Right, reference, this is not defined. I think I made a typo in this file. Right. So sorry, I think I may have this to do index, and over here I had to add this, right? I think it should work now and we should be ready to go, right? To do one, save, great. To do two, yeah. And let's look if it's working on delete. It shouldn't work on delete because I haven't written anything on to do add, if sorry, on delete to do in that app.view. So I haven't written handle to do add. So let's write this, and I think then uh, we'll finish the view part in to-do list, and then we'll push towards making it for React and Angular as well. So what we need to do right now is write a method. We have written handle to do add. We need to write another method handle uh, handle delete to do. So let's write that down. Handle delete to do, and what it gets is the index, and we can simply write this to do's dot splice. So splice is a built-in method for list, and it basically removes that items, and index is the items place, and it should work now. Let's see if it's working. To do one, save. To do two, save. And to do three. Let's look if this works. Right, so if it's working right now, we are finished with all view to do app, and now let's do the same thing but for React right now. Let's get into to do. So let's move into right. app.js for React, right? Let's first try to make to-do list over here, right? Okay, so for React it's a bit different. We React doesn't have any directives like ng4 or v4 in Vue. So normally React discourages us from writing this stuff in uh, HTML. So what we do is render or perform the manipulation on this in the JS file first and output it over there. So let me just do this and you will get to know. For example, we are going to use the to-dos, which is basically a list, and we'll write a map function over it. And the map function should have a parameter of to do and I. So we will have these things, and we should return a to do list, and each to do list will have a key. Key is required in React and in Vue as well, so that I guess it'll give you a warning if you don't do it, but if it's right if you write some key with it so that it may not have any performance issues, right? So over here what I'm going to do right now is I've given it a value. It's binded to that value, and I'm when the delete to do property is clicked, right, I need to call a function, a method over here. So what I need to do is it'll have a this on delete, this on delete to do, and it'll pass a parameter of index to it. So what's the problem? Yeah, I need to close the tag as well, so it should be fine then. Yeah, it's fine, right? So after this what happens is I need to just simply write to-do list over here, to do to-do list, which is rendered over here. Right, now let's start building to-do list. To-do list, let's start building this, and instead of returning this to-do list working, let's write the same HTML as before we have written for Vue, but with some differences, such as the class name should be written instead of styles. Input should be type type of text, and it should have a class name of to do input. It should have a value that is binded to it, props dot value. We have sent this, and disabled should be true, because we don't need anything else, we just need it to be disabled, right? And after this we need to have a button. Just need to add one more space, button, and it should have a type of button. I don't think we need a type of, well, let's should be, by the way, an input. Yeah, it should be an input, not button. But let's just remove this. Okay, class name should be button delete, not delete 83. On click should be when the button is clicked, what should it do? So we have written a method inside our container. So yeah, when the click is, no, sorry, this one, when it's clicked, delete to do should be props for it, right? we need to write props dot delete to do, props delete to do, and it should be delete, simply delete, because we need to be consistent with our names, different names having delete, and I think this should work, but we need to of course write the method delete to do over here on delete to do. So we can write on delete to do right now, and on delete to do, and it should, we could write it as an ESX function, arrow function. Let's write previous to do is equal to, let's get a copy of our previous state to do's. Hello? हाँ अमीजी करा तुझे हाँ वापस होई هذا سنتور استوى عشان يجي كده سكا हाँ वो تاري हाँ सही ده تاري हाँ alright, sorry for that. So previous to do and splice it, splice, remove it, key with one, just splice the current index and set state with to do's, and previous to do, just set it that way, and I think we should be good to go for React as well. Yeah, it seems okay right now. Let's check for React. Failed to compile. I have Georgia's line 53. So what's going on? Right. So to render this, you need to have these brackets, right? It won't work if you don't have these brackets. In parentheses, you need to add these as well for it to work properly. And you need to add these over here as well. And 1 second. Return, no, you don't need to return to do list. Yes, you alright, so this works, but this doesn't. I'm not sure why that is, why this is so, but I guess we should write it over here, right? Or it will break. Let's see if it works properly. Let's save this and right, props dot value, we needed to add true to value, and we need to was props dot value. Is it value? Yeah, it's value, and it should be value over here as well. But I think I made one silly mistake. It shouldn't have brackets, right? Shouldn't have these things. Sorry for that. It should work right now. It should be working fine. To do one and to do, yeah, it's working. To do two and to do three. Let's remove this Let's remove that and let's remove this as well. We are good to go on React. Let's do the same thing for Angular as well, but with a bit of twist because we want something else. What you what we did is passed the to-do list to our child component. So we are going to do the same thing as well for Angular, but when the button is clicked, I don't want to bind that event inside a controller, but I want it to listen any so that any component may listen to it. The things we are doing right now is will only work for coupled components, right? What if they are decoupled? What if there is no relationship like parent and child? What if it's a component somewhere else and it needs to listen to that event. For example, if a delete to do is clicked, or let's say that what if we have a logout button instead of delete to do, right? And on top of nav bar we have a component which needs to listen to that event. So these are they might not be coupled or parent-child relationship like that. So what we can do is in Angular, we can, or in anything, you can use subject and observables like that. It is basically RxJS is used in Angular. It is built into Angular, but you can use it anywhere you want. Other than that, there are other state management libraries such as Flux, Redux. You can go through them as well. You can use Redux in Vue or Angular in anything you want, but mainly it is recommended to use it in React, and if you want to follow the Redux pattern in Angular, NGRX is a library which works really good with Angular as well. But normally, if it's a small application like this, you won't be needing these things. But it's good to know. It's good to know about it because applications grow really fast, really quickly, right? So let's start working on our Angular application. To do list component dot component. All right, let's start working on this. And just like in Vue, we need to pass the properties to the children, and the properties will be to do element, or firstly we need to like add an ng4 to it so it may iterate, so a directive into it. So a directive, we should write a directive for it so that we could have multiple child elements instead of just one, and we need to give the child element to do. So to's was the name I presume for the list. Let I is equal to index, and after that we should be adding this is equal to element, right? And index is equal to I, right? So that should be like enough for it to pass to the children. And let's start making our to-do list. And div container input disabled should be true, type should be text, placeholder should be enter to do, class should be to do input, and the model that it should bind to would be the model that is passed through it. So that should That should be it for input, and let's write this. Write one for I don't need a type, and class is equal to button delete click on delete to do. Right, when the button is clicked I need to delete. And let's write this TypeScript file for it as well. We already have a TypeScript. Now just like in view we needed to add those properties, and over here we need to do the same thing but with a to do time. So we need to add input over here, input index, it should be a number, and a constructor private to do right, we don't need a constructor right now, and on delete to do this dot I guess that's it should be enough for it to work at least. Render something, yeah. What's wrong with that? Am I writing a CSS? I think I haven't written CSS for this stuff, right? So let's copy that CSS, yeah, and let's paste it over here. It should be different. Yeah, it's different, and it needs to be aligned in the center. Container to do header. Was it container to do header? Yeah, it's supposed to be container to do header. We just confirm it. Container to do header. To do header. To do header. And this driver, it needs to have a single dash. Container to do header, right? And the different thing in Angular we are going to do is we are going to make a service, and inside the service what we are going to do is make a subject which should listen to that event, and make that observable, which could be listened to it, and it could after an event what we can do is make a shared service. The functionality of that service will be to listen to on delete event, and an index will be emitted once the event. What we can do is make a shared service over here. Let's make that shared to do delete not. Let's just name it to do service for now. Yeah, to do service.ts, and we need to import subject from rxjs. Export class to do service, and we are going to need a private variable to do subject index, right, and a new subject. that should have a number and a public to do observer index is equal to this dot to do subject index as observable, and a method change to do index number this dot to do index dot next to do index. Sorry, we need to add this, right? So what's happening over here is basically we made a subject of to do subject index, and we made another variable to do subject index as observable. When an event is happening, we'll call this service and call the change to do method and pass an index to it. After passing the index to it, what this method will do is make anyone listening to this will get an index. So let's try to make it first and then talk about it more. Input, and we need to make a constructor private to do service and to do service on delete to do this dot to do service dot change to do method and this dot index, yeah. And we need to listen to this. This is basically emitted, the event is called over here, and we need to listen or subscribe to these changes. So normally subscription is done in ng on init lifecycle, not ng on init. Over here you need to import on init, right? And you need to initialize it inside the constructor private to do service and give it a space, give them some space. We need to write ng on init method over here, and what this method will do is this dot to do service to do observer index, subscribe it to do index. Well, after some changes has been made to that thing, we need to splice it and right. So yeah, ng on init. Sorry, I think we not sure why this is happening. It shouldn't be happening. ng. Yeah, sorry. We need to implement implements on init first, right? We need to do that. We need to add, and I guess this should be working right now, and we should be I'm a dual to do service, no provider for to do service, of course, of course. So after doing this, you need to add this thing as a service in providers as well. So here are providers. You need to just add this for it to work. Yeah, it should work right now. Yeah. Hello one. To do two. We need to do two. And to do three. Let's see if this works here. It works perfectly fine, and I think we are finished with our tutorial, and